Shalom, Biayl Live Tanakh readers. Today is day 1 of week 23, and we'll be reading Ezekiel chapter 18 to 20 this week from the Complete Jewish Bible. Let's dive in. The word of Adonai came to me. What does it mean that you keep quoting this proverb in the land of Israel? When parents eat sour grapes, their children's teeth are set on edge. As I live, says Adonai Elohim, I swear that you will never again quote this proverb in Israel. Look, all lives belong to me. Both the parent's life and the child's life are equally mine. So it is a person who sins himself who must die. Consider someone who is righteous, who does what is lawful and right. He doesn't eat on the mountains or raise his eyes towards the idols of the house of Israel. He doesn't defile his neighbor's wife or touch a woman during her time of menstrual impurity. He doesn't wrong anyone. He returns any pledged property a debtor has given as collateral for a loan. He takes nothing by robbery, but gives his food to the hungry and clothing to those who need it. He neither demands nor accepts interest on a loan. He refrains from what is evil. He judges honestly between one person and another. In short, he lives according to my laws and observes my rulings, so as to act faithfully. Such a person is righteous, and he will certainly live, says Adonai Elohim. Now suppose he is the father of a son who is a robber, a murderer, or who does any of these things to a brother, whereas the father himself does none of them. He eats on the mountains, defiles his neighbor's wife, wrongs the poor and needy, takes by robbery, doesn't restore pledged property, raises his eyes towards the idols, engages in disgusting practices, demands and accepts interests. Should he live? He will not live, because he has engaged in all these disgusting practices. He must be put to death. His blood is on him. But now suppose he has a son who sees all the sins his father committed, thinks about them, and behaves differently. He doesn't eat on the mountains, raise his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, defile his neighbor's wife, wrong others, keep pledged property, or take by robbery, but gives his food to the hungry and clothing to those in need of it. He refrains from oppressing the poor, and he neither demands nor accepts interests. He obeys my rulings and lives according to my laws. So he will not die for his father's sins, but will certainly live. Yet his father, because he oppressed so cruelly, committed robbery against his brother, and never did anything good among his people, he will die for his sins. You ask, why doesn't the son bear his father's guilt? When the son has done what is lawful and right, has kept all my laws and obeyed them, he will certainly live. The person who sins is the one that will die. A son is not to bear his father's guilt with him, nor is the father to bear his son's guilt with him. But the righteousness of the righteous will be his own, and the wickedness of the wicked will be his own. However, if the wicked person repents of all the sins he committed, keeps my laws, and does what is lawful and right, then he will certainly live. He will not die. None of the transgressions he has committed will be remembered against him. For the righteousness that he has done, he will live. Do I take any pleasure at all in having the wicked person die? Asks Adonai Elohim. Wouldn't I prefer that he turn from his ways and live? On the other hand, when the righteous person turns away from his righteousness and commits wickedness by acting in accordance with all the disgusting practices that the wicked person does, will he live? None of the righteous deeds he has done will be remembered. For the trespasses and sins he has committed, he will die. So now you say, Adonai's way isn't fair. Listen, house of Israel, is it my way that is unfair, or your ways that are unfair? When the righteous person turns away from his righteousness and commits wickedness, he will die for it. For the wickedness he commits, he will die. And when the wicked person turns away from all the wickedness he has committed and does what is lawful and right, he will save his life. Because he thinks it over and repents of all the transgressions he committed, he will certainly live, not die. Yet the house of Israel says, Adonai's way isn't fair. House of Israel, is it my ways that are unfair, or your ways that are unfair? Therefore, house of Israel, I will judge each of you according to his ways, says Adonai Elohim. Repent and turn yourselves away from all your transgressions, so that they will not be a stumbling block that brings guilt upon you. Throw far away from yourselves all your crimes that you committed, and make yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. For why should you die, house of Israel? I take no pleasure in the death of anyone who dies, says Adonai Elohim. So turn yourselves around and live. Chapter 19. Moreover, raise a lament for the leaders of Israel. Say, what a mother you had, a lioness among lions. She lay down among young lions and reared her cubs. One of her cubs she singled out. He became a young lion. He learned to seize his prey. He became a man-eater. The nations sounded an alarm against him, and he was caught in their pit. With hooks they dragged him off to the land of Egypt. When she saw that she had been thwarted, that her hope was lost, she took another of her cubs and made a young lion of him. He prowled among the lions, grew to be a young lion, learned to seize his prey, and become a man-eater. He raped their widows and destroyed their cities. The land and all in it were appalled at the sound of his roaring. The nations set a snare for him from the provinces all around. They spread their net over him, and he was caught in their pit. With hooks they put him in a cage and brought him to the king of Babel, to imprison him in a fortress, so that his roar would be heard no more on the mountains of Israel. Your mother was like a strong grapevine planted by the water. It was fruitful and luxuriant because of the abundant water. It had strong branches to be used as scepters by rulers. Besides having thick foliage, it grew taller and taller until its height was noticed, with its mass of branches. But it was torn up in fury and flung on the ground. An east wind withered her fruit. Her strong branches were broken off. They dried up, and fire consumed the vine. It has been transplanted to the desert, to a dry, thirsty land. Fire has gone out from its own branches, burning up its fruit, so that now it has no strong branches to be a ruler's scepter. This lament became very well known. Chapter 20. On the 10th day of the 5th month of the 7th year, some of Israel's leaders came to consult Adonai and sat with him. And the word of Adonai came to me, human being, speak to Israel's leaders. Tell them that Adonai Elohim asks, have you come to consult me as I live, says Adonai Elohim? I swear that I will not let you consult me. Are you going to judge them, human being? Are you going to judge them? Then have them realize how disgusting their ancestors' practices were. Tell them that Adonai Elohim says this, back on the day when I chose Israel, I raised my hand to the descendants of the house of Yaakov. I revealed myself to them in the land of Egypt, when I raised my hand to them and said, I am Adonai your God. On the day I raised my hand to them, pledging to bring them out of the land of Egypt into a land I had reconnoitered for them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, I told them, each of you is to throw away detestable things that draw your eyes. Do not defile yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am Adonai your God. But they rebelled against me and wouldn't listen to me. They did not, each of them, throw away the detestable things that drew their eyes, and they did not abandon the idols of Egypt. Then I said I would pour out my fury on them and spend my anger on them there in the land of Egypt. But concern for my own reputation kept me from letting it be profaned in the sight of the nations among whom they were living, in the sight of whom I had made myself known to them, in order to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So I had them leave the land of Egypt and brought them into the desert. I gave them my laws and showed them my rulings. If a person obeys them, he will have life through them. I gave them my Shabbats as a sign between me and them, so that they would know that I, Adonai, am the one who makes them holy. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the desert. They did not live by my laws, and they rejected my rulings, which, if a person does, he will have life through them. Moreover, they greatly profaned my Shabbats. Then I said I would pour out my fury on them in the desert, in order to destroy them. but concern for my own reputation kept me from letting it be profaned in the sight of the nations who had seen when I brought them out. Yet I also raised my hand and swore to them in the desert that I would not bring them into the land I was giving them, a land flowing with milk and honey, the most beautiful of all lands, because they had rejected my rulings, did not live by my laws, and profaned my Shabbats, since their hearts went after their idols. However, I spared them from complete destruction. I did not completely finish them off in the desert. I said to their children in the desert, don't live by the laws of your fathers. Observe their rulings or defile yourselves with their idols. I am Adonai your God. Live by my laws. Observe my rulings and obey them, and keep my Shabbats holy. And they will be a sign between me and you, so that you will know that I am Adonai your God. But the children too rebelled against me. They did not live by my laws or observe my rulings, to obey them, which, if a person does, he will have life by them. And they profaned my Shabbats. Then I said, I would pour out my fury on them and spend my anger on them in the desert. Nevertheless, I withdrew my hand and allowed concern for my own reputation to keep me from letting it be profaned in the sight of the nations who had seen when I brought them out. I also raised my hand and swore to them in the desert that I would scatter them among the nations and disperse them through the countries because they hadn't obeyed my rulings, but had rejected my laws and profaned my Shabbats, and their eyes had turned toward their fathers' idols. I also gave them laws which did them no good and rulings by which they did not live, and I let them become defiled by their own gifts, in that they offered up their firstborn sons, so that I could fill them with revulsion, so that they would finally realize that I am Adonai. Therefore, human being, speak to the house of Israel. Tell them that Adonai Elohim says, moreover, your ancestors blasphemed me by breaking faith with me in still another way. For after I had brought them into the land which I had raised my hand in pledge to give them, they noted all its high hills and leafy trees, and offered there their sacrifices. There they made offerings that provoked my anger. There they set out their sweet aromas, and there they poured out their drink offerings. When I asked them, this high place where you go, what is the meaning of it? They gave it the name Bama, which it retains to this day. So tell the house of Israel that Adonai Elohim says, you are defiling yourselves in the same way as your ancestors, following their abominations and fornicating with them. And when offering your gifts, you make your children pass through the fire and defile yourselves with all your idols to this day. So am I supposed to allow you to consult me, house of Israel? As I live, says Adonai Elohim, I swear that I won't have you consult me, and that what you have in mind when you say, we will be like the Goyim, like the families of the other countries, serving wood and stone, will certainly not happen. As I live, says Adonai Elohim, I swear that surely with a mighty hand, with a stretched out arm, and with poured out fury, I myself will be king over you. I'll bring you out from the peoples and gather you out of the countries where you are scattered, with a mighty hand, with a stretched out arm, and with poured out fury. Then I will bring you into the desert of the peoples and judge you face to face. Just as I judged your ancestors in the desert of the land of Egypt, so will I judge you, says Adonai Elohim. I'll make you pass under the crook and bring you into the obligations of the covenant. I'll rid you of the rebels who are in revolt against me. I'll bring them out from the land where they are living, but they will not enter the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am Adonai. As for you, house of Israel, here is what Adonai Elohim says. Go on serving your idols, every one of you, but afterwards I swear that you will listen to me, and you will no longer profane my holy name with your gifts and with your idols. For on my holy mountain, the high mountain of Israel, says Adonai Elohim, the whole house of Israel, all of them, will serve me in the land. I will accept them there, and there I will require your contributions, your best gifts, and all your consecrated things. I will accept you with your sweet aroma when I bring you out from the peoples and gather you out of the countries where you were scattered. and through you I will manifest my holiness in the sight of the nations. You will know that I am Adonai when I bring you into the land of Israel, into the country which I pledged by raising my hand to give to your ancestors. There you will remember your behavior and all the things you did which you defiled yourselves, and you will loathe yourselves for all the evils you committed. You will know that I am Adonai when I have dealt with you in a manner that preserves my reputation, and not according to your evil ways and corrupt actions. House of Israel, says Adonai Elohim. The word of the Lord.